A beautiful, inspiring Tuesday morning right here at Lookup TV. Where are you watching me from? Talk to me right now on Facebook. We are live at Lookup TV and also on Twitter at Lookup TV. Our WhatsApp number is at the bottom of your screen. The reason why I've started with that is I know how engaging this conversation is just about to get. On set today is an amazing human being. Allow me to start from that, because on Tuesdays we learn on how to grow ourselves individually and that way then impact on the relationships we have in the world, societies, corporates, and that has to begin with leadership and strategies. That's the only way the world gets to remain operational. But did you realize and did you know that there are certain strategies that you ought to know that would make your business a success, that would make your leadership impactful? This morning, I'm joined by Dr. Victor Abbey, who is a strategic leadership, security, risk, and change management consultant, a distinguished veteran that is military leader, a doctoral scholar, and graduate of SBS, that is Swiss Business Leader or School, Switzerland, Noble International Business School, NIBS, Accra, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and the University of Ghana. The book I'm holding right here is very instrumental in this conversation. I read that intentionally at the back of the book, because then you get to really understand where he's coming from as a mentor and as a leadership strategist. Now, I'm going to be bringing him to talk to you about the strategies. This book here was launched in Kenya on the 25th of June this year, so I hope you did not miss that launch. If you did, let's find out how he feels about the milestones he has made this morning. It's good to have you, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Doris, and good morning and warm greetings from the people of Ghana. Beautiful city, Nairobi.
Thank you.
And I must say, beautiful studio as well, and happy to be here.
Thank you very much. I just discovered that people watching us from other parts of the world, it could be afternoon, it could be evening where you're watching us from, it could even be night. Either way, let's be in this together. You have to wake someone up, because we need this particular concept digging in to your minds this morning. Now, this is something that has come out of you.
Exactly.
Your experiences, your interactions. You have worked in so many corporate setups. Let's start with, when we look at Mr. or Dr. Victor Abbey, I will start as, as soft as this. If we asked you in 5 words, who is Dr. Victor Abbey?
Thank you, Doris. Dr. Victor Abbey is just a passionate person or individual who is out there to make an impact on the mindset of leaders and corporate entities, so as to move our continent forward by way of leadership and business dealings.
They say Africa is the hub.
Africa is now the hub of everything.
Of everything.
That's the future. Africa is the future. If you look at what is happening around the globe, hope only lies with Africa. And we need to recognize that and harness that to our benefit. And
if that is it, why is it that we're not shaping up yet? Where are we going wrong? And I'm looking at this answers at the V.U.C.A. Probably we need that light. If we are the hub, if we are the future, what do we need to be putting together as far as leadership and, corporate strategies is concerned? You can also revolve that around the very strong pillars, V.U.C.A, written in this book.
All right. Once again, thanks for that question. It's very important to understand what we mean by V.U.C.A,
yes.
The context. So when we talk about V.U.C.A, it's about volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity that surround us today. You will agree with me as we speak. Everything is quite unstable. It's complex for us to understand what is happening, right from COVID-19 to the Russian war, economic effects on our various economies across the continents and across the globe as well. It's so complex to understand, and it's so ambiguous to find exact solutions to. So it's very important that to move forward as a business or even as a country or continent, we need to come to terms with what is it that is within the VUCA world that we find ourselves. VUCA world basically has to do with the fact that we are experiencing a fast-paced change within the world, from pandemics that is disrupting a lot of health systems, and to economic issues. Technology is also taking a greater toll on everything, especially when you cast your mind back to the onset of COVID-19. Many people did not, or many leaders never thought that they were going to have their teams working remotely. But it has come to stay. Now that informs strategy. That means that hitherto businesses which were not interested in investing in technology will have to take a second look at that, because without that, your business may collapse. So in the VUCA context, all these changes, rapid changes occurring around us, we need to come to terms. We need to comprehend what it is. We need to abreast with the happenings of the times and be able to scale up our game so as to, surmount all these challenges, because there are opportunities in there as well. So basically, that's what I'm saying.
You're also a mentor, and I know there are a lot of young people watching today from across the globe. And there's one thing you have said, which is pretty much inevitable and comes when it's so unpredictable, and that is change, including all the things that are happening, technology, modernization, in the health sector, even politically. We're coming into leadership shortly. But what would you say about change management in regards to business strategies, but also not forgetting change management individually as a person, as far as personal development and growth is concerned? Change management.
So when we talk about change management, first of all, every single human being or organization goes through changes every day. Your body goes through changes every day, but you need to understand that change. It's not all change that is important. Some changes are very critical to your development, and so understanding the change that you require at any point in time is very important. It's very significant to progressing and experiencing that change you want to have. For example, in a community, they may want a change to their lives, but they may have different needs, and you have to identify what is critical to tackle that. Individually, you may want to look at yourself, and if you want to effect any change, I will say, as a young person, as a leader, you need to, first of all, redefine your purpose. What is your purpose? What's your vision? Where do you want to get to? Your why, what we call your why. And the why is a central point surrounded by who are you? What do you do? How do you do what you do? Where are you in your developmental stage? Where are you? That will determine your why. Because if you know your why, you may have to change the things you do. And you may have to look at the challenges you are facing and what you need to change. So basically, that is for individuals. And likewise, organizations, what is your purpose? What's your vision? What's your mission? What do you exist to do? And where do you get to, where do you hope to get to? And that will also determine how you do what you do and where you are now, and using your strength and your weaknesses to, surmount all the difficulties or the challenges that are imminent in the VUCA environment that we find ourselves in. So that's about that.
I like that you brought out what's your why, and I want to send this back to the viewers watching us back at home or wherever it is you're watching us. Do you know your why? And that he has said is your purpose. And if you're an organization, what is your mission and what is your vision? Because that then should guide you towards that goal. All right. Now, one thing that I have remembered, the late Michael Jackson, allow me to make it a little bit light, sang this song about stop existing and start living. All right. Are you existing or are you living? Talk to me at Look Up TV. Any clarification you might need from Dr. Victor Abbey about his book also. We're just going to be picking your questions shortly. I want to come back to matters leadership. I really want to appreciate that you have acknowledged that Africa is what the world needs right now. When looking at leadership, especially now that you're in Kenya, allow me to say karibu.
Santi.
Oh, I'm glad you got that correct. So we are looking at transition of power in very few days, say less than 40 days.
Yeah.
And there is the aspect of Africa has always failed the people of the land and of the soil from the top leadership positions. Politically, it has been said that we failed to put up our countries to the positions they ought to be in terms of what they have as resources, etc., because of failed leadership. I really want to hear what your perception is and what your sentiments would be in regards to leadership in Africa and growth.
Thank you, Doris. You hit it on the nail. Leadership is said that everything rises and falls on leadership. Whether we succeed as a continent or as a country, it depends on leadership. But of course, leadership is not in isolation. It's also embraces the followers or the team members, as in the citizens as well. So I would say leadership may be providing the channel through which we head towards our destination. But the passengers, the citizens, also have a critical role to play. And that role boils down to what I call the mindset. Our mindset is very critical in our leadership success. What we experience on the continent of Africa has to do with a mindset, maybe if you like, for want of a better word, let me say mindset pollution. We need to clean up our minds with regards to governance, with regards to leadership, with regards to our expectations, and face reality. We need to be authentic. We need to face reality in our lives and know that you cannot experience change if you are not ready to change.
Oh, you cannot experience change if you are not ready
to experience change.
Okay.
So leadership may be willing to effect changes, but the citizens must also be willing and ready to support that change process. So we tend to blame everything on leaders, but the leader is as good as the followers. The leader is as good as the followers. Now allow me to now go back to the follower, because I am a follower. Yes. All right, and so are you. Yeah. And what do I then have to do as a person to ensure that I'm not part of the problem, but I'm part of the solution? Because perhaps it's the ignorance. We do not know what role we have to play. Are we our own leaders, and how do I shape my own leadership skills, for that matter, as a person, that then influences how the entire country runs? Exactly. So you as at the individual level, we all know that in our society we are required to be good citizens. So when it comes to the national government providing direction by way of policies and all that, do you support, do you contribute to those policies? So let's say sustaining the environment or protecting the environment, for example, where cleanliness is one of the critical things required to keep our countries beautiful. What are you doing? Do you throw waste indiscriminately? Do you dispose of your waste properly? Do you keep your frontages? Do you keep your homes clean? Do you do the right thing? So when you do that, your government will not spend more money trying to solve the problem that you end up creating. So it's very important we understand that we have a role to play. When it comes to bribery and corruption, where do you stand? I'm glad you hit that one. Where do you stand? As an individual. As an individual. Okay. Do you go paying bribe because you want things done faster for you, or you insist on the right things being done? There are occasions where personally I will tell you, well, you have to pay a price to get the ultimate. The price here, I mean, you have to suffer the consequences if the other person is not ready to give you what it takes. But at the end of the day, you have a clean conscience to know that you have contributed your quota to ensuring a very, non-corrupt society. And so you don't expect the leader to be corrupt. Because if all of us, as citizens of this continent, decide not to offer bribe or to give bribe, the one who is expecting the bribe will never get it anyway. But so long as we continue to give, some leaders will be willing and ready to accept. So the equation always has what plus what that gives a certain kind of a result. Now, one of the things that I know for sure as Ankey Dorice is that even for teamwork to be a success, there's
some sort of good leadership that is needed. Now, it seems quite vague sometimes when someone says, well, you're a good leader, or you ought to be a good leader. But if we decided to go deeper and, you know, ask you, Dr. Victor, who is a good leader? What are the values of a good leader?
All right. Thank you once again, Dorice. For me, and it's something that has been stated clearly in the book, the key qualities, 4 key qualities or values that a leader must focus on and ensure that he or she imbibe into him or herself has to do with what I call HAVE, H-A-V-E. You must be humble, you must be adaptable, you must be a visionary person, you must be engaged. And how do I mean by this?
Yes.
Humility, obviously, we know what it is. It is not, leadership position is not for you to lord it over others. It is for you to just coordinate the activities of your team. By you being a leadership position, it doesn't mean you are better than all the team members. In leadership, your direction is based on the activities of the team members. So you need to be humble enough to accept feedback, negative or positive, that will shape your, direction that you provide for the team. Because when you have a mindset that I know it all, I am the leader, nobody can suggest anything to me, I am the one all in all, you may end up down the drain. Because even if your team members see that you are going wayward, they will look at you fall. And
none will be willing to say or challenge you.
Challenge you. And that will be too bad for you. So it's very important that as leaders, we embrace the qualities of humility. We must be humble enough to accept our shortfalls and be able to, provide feedback to our teams as well and change our way of doing things. And we must be adaptable. Adaptable here means that we need to understand the environment we are operating in. When things change, you must be ready to understand those changes and adapt to those changes. It's just like, we don't need to be robotic in our thinking. We need to understand that the leadership styles of yesterday is not or may not necessarily be applicable to today. The dynamics of today's environment are so enormous that if you don't really understand the environment, you may not be able to adapt to it. So you must be flexible in your thinking. You must be agile so as to adapt to the environment. And visionary, obviously, you must equally know where you are going. And you must be passionate, you must have the conviction, you must always focus on that and be able to shape it along, because changes may come that may want to shape the direction, but you must figure out how those changes are shaping your vision.
Dr. Victor, you spoke of conviction.
Yes.
Would you please say more about conviction?
Okay. Conviction does not mean that you should be fixated on what you are convinced about. Conviction is about you are passionate about something, you want to do it, you are convinced within, but the conviction comes from information. You must be informed about what it is that you want to do, what is happening around. Where are your own weaknesses? Where are your own strengths? That will guide your conviction. Because you'll become a folly if you just believe that I can do this when you are in reality not capable of doing that. Yeah, conviction may be there, but you must be informed by trends or current events and all that. So that is about that.
All right.
Then when you are visionary, you must engage. So you must be engaged. You must engage your team members, you must engage stakeholders in your business or in your life and all that. At the personal level, you have your family, you have your friends, you have your superiors, you must engage at all times. Let me be quick to mention something.
Yes.
Leaders, in having all these qualities, must be conscious of one thing.
All right.
The generational differences at the workplace today. There are different generations at the workplace, unlike some years back. We have the baby boomers, we have the millennials, we have the Generation X, we have the what is now those who are in school coming out now called
Z
and all that.
Yes.
And they all have different characteristics.
True.
And leader must understand all these characteristics. You know, for example, the baby boomers and the Generation X, they are very hardworking chaps or individuals. They focus on their aim. They work, you know, towards, you know, a destination. They are so robust in their thinking and all that. But if you bring it to the millennials and Generation Z and what is now to be described as Generation Alpha, they are tech savvies. They appreciate technology and they work faster with technology. The baby boomers are not interested in email stuff. They want one-on-one engagement and all that. But the current young generation, Generation Z, Generation Alpha, they believe that this can be done on WhatsApp, this can be done on mail, so we don't really need to sit down. But how do you harness the capabilities across the generations to be able to forge ahead with your vision? It's one thing that leaders must focus on. So leadership is not a position of authority. It's a position that gives you the nerve to coordinate activities.
So I like how you put it.
Yes.
It gives you the nerve to coordinate the activities
of the team.
So
I say leadership is a process of creating a symbiotic relationship between you and the team. So everybody is a leader at any point in time.
And I want to come to you. Seemingly you have succeeded in working with people, different fields, including the military, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Different corporate, different fields. I'm looking at one person being able to do all these things when some of us can hardly, you know, deal with a team of 5. All right. And then you come up with this amazing book to guide each of us now. I'm sure it's affordable. We'll let you know where to get it, especially in Kenya after the launch on the June 25th. And I want to go a bit personal now with you and find out how does Dr. Victor Abbey handle the dynamics, the changes in different fields and strike a balance. What is your story?
All right. Thank you. It's interesting.
Yes.
All this started with the military. When I completed university as a first degree holder, I immediately enlisted into the Ghana Army, where I was trained and commissioned as an officer, the rank of lieutenant. And then immediately after that, I was pushed into it's a leadership position. So you have your team, and we had to go into operation. People as old as my father were within my team, and as a leader, you need to appreciate experience, you need to appreciate your own knowledge, and then be able, like I said, harness those experiences too. And I led a team of 30 men to La Côte d'Ivoire for peacekeeping, and for 1 year, and we were successful. Not because I was supreme and above everybody, but it's about, you know, channeling the resources towards the right, you know, activities and coordinating contributions from everybody. And that was it. And then from there, I served in other places where it's all about teamwork. So Liberia, DR Congo, as a leader and as a peacemaker as well. And so you realize that these different environments provide or offer different cultural systems that you needed to adapt your approach of leadership to. The people you are dealing with are from different cultural backgrounds. Even within your own teams, you have different cultural perspectives. How do you factor all that into it? So the military offered that platform for me to immediately appreciate the training, not only by experience, but the training gave the foundation, and then by practice, I got to understand the dynamics of leadership better. And I, from there, approach all issues based on what we call mission command. A mission command approach to leadership has to do with what are you supposed to do, or what are we to do, and why are we doing it. So you tell your team members, this is what we are to do, and this is why we are doing it. Then you leave the how for them to decipher. So they are able to come out with creative and innovative approaches. Of course, the military provide provides certain processes you need to go through.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, you are able to enlist the creativity of your team members.
Is this what they call empower your team members?
Yeah, you empower the team members so that the aim here is that as the going gets tough, there may be needs to inject some changes. You, the leader, may not necessarily be there to effect those changes. But because the team members understand why you are doing what you are doing, they're able to find ways and means around those challenges and forge ahead.
I like that the story should be continuing, but I'm sure they can get more of that in this particular book, where we'll also let you know if then you can purchase it in the stores now that it's officially in Kenya. And I'm looking at the moments when a leader crashes. Did you at any point crash and say, you know what, I cannot do this anymore, but then something might have tapped your back and said, you cannot give up now? Which moment was this?
Well, there are quite a number of moments, but because you, the leader, as personally, because I build resilience right from the scratch, because that's what the military has injected in me, that nothing is impossible. So with that mindset, at any point in time, you cannot afford to give up. So when challenges come your way, when you are at the peak of giving up, that's when you need to actually go into yourself and once again remind yourself of the purpose, the destination. Why are you doing what you are doing? That should push you and forge you ahead. So for me, yes, such moments came at different times where going became tough. You need to reorganize yourself, and then but a leader must have a resilient mindset. That is what will push you ahead. A
resilient mindset. I hope you have a lot of take-homes today, because we are leaders individually, in our families, and even in those corporates. Now, I'm going to speak for organizations today. And you have talked about being a person, build resilience. If a company that has been standing for, say, 5-6 years is at the verge of collapsing, what can it do? Is there any hope? There were 3 things they can do, top of the list, that would at least save this company today. Well, like individuals, organizations must equally do self-introspection to be able to know, where are we? What have we done over the period? And what can we do differently to recover or rescue our situation? Because, you see, it is said that in between yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's dream is today's opportunity. Amazing. In between yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's dream is today's opportunity. You may have regretted some things in the past, but today is an opportunity to make a difference. So you need to reflect on yesterday. Don't remain in yesterday. Use today to forge ahead to make tomorrow better. So organizations need to do that. Do some self-introspection from the cultural perspective, organizational cultural perspective, from leadership styles that have been used, from business strategies, from corporate strategies, from functional strategies. All must be factored into it. And also juxtapose it on what is out there. There's a reason why I want us to take a different angle on this last session of the discussion. He is making it very clear the world and the future of corporate strategy and leadership. Welcome back, sir. As the questions come in and, of course, feedback, there is a reason why you have really intentionally written this book for the world. When we started, you said Africa is not just what we see. It is the hope. It is the future of the entire world. So I am trying then to ponder and dig into your mind as the author of this book. What inspired you to take this angle as you wrote the corporate, of course, strategy and leadership with V.U.C.A World, in terms of the approach? What was in your mind? What inspired this? Okay. Yes. All right. Thank you once again. From the onset of COVID, it became clear that there was confusion on the world stage as to exact solution to the COVID vis-a-vis economic activities. So I thought that, no, strategy traditionally has been
couched in a way, or is supposed to look at the long-term, activities of the organization or nations. But with COVID, most of the corporate and organizational or national strategies were disrupted. So you need to begin to rethink and look at why. So why is it that even from the Western world, they could not find solution to the problem?
Yes.
And Africa had to quickly meet and come up with something. The world thought Africa was going to actually be wiped out, but we survived. And it calls for different dynamic approaches to things. So based on that, I look at technology became very critical to the process. So how then do we have to identify the right resources, including technology, and then human resources to be able to forge ahead as countries and as a continent? So that is one of the critical issues. I spoke earlier about generational differences.
Yes, you did.
Now, it may interest you to know that in Africa, we are over 1 billion people, and the population of the youth alone is around 840 million. That is huge, and that tells you a lot, that the future of our continent lies in the youth. So it's very important for us to understand as young people that the future lies in our hands, and we need to embrace leadership, the right leadership qualities, the right attitude towards the future. We do not need to have the same mindset where every time it's about you. It must be about other people. It must be about the continent. We should move away from the mindset that everything in Africa is subservient or is subordinate to everything Western. We have what it takes to make a difference on our continent. We have very resourceful youth. We have very intelligent, young people that can make a difference. And what I would say at this point is that from the book's perspective, it requires all generations, especially the baby boomer generation, to recognize the capability of the young person to drive change on the continent. We need to empower the youth. We need to give them resources required to move ahead. So talking about Africa again, I ask the question, why is it difficult for young people to be creative or to be innovative, to run businesses? It's because there are limitations along the way. Somebody may have the idea to be creative, but resources to support that person may not be there.
Why?
Because
why would these resources not be there?
In country or in our various countries, the older generation tend to have a certain fear of capability, or fear that the young person has what it takes. Of course, sometimes it's the attitude of the young people themselves that give them that room to think that you don't have what it takes. You need to go through the mill. You need to be groomed until you get to a certain stage. That's why across the continent, you see our leaders are all in their 60s.
Even older. Let's say even older. 60 and older.
So we need, but when you look at some countries in Europe, they have young people as low as 34, 35 to 40 leading their countries. And so we need to begin to understand that the future lies in the youth. If we have over 840 young people on the continent, can we imagine if each and every one of them is empowered? What can we do? Your imagination
that's quite a force.
Yes,
that's quite a force. But I want to hear from you. Let me make use of your expertise today, because I'm sure both of these generations are watching, and maybe there has been goodwill. The problem is, how do we then understand, like you said, different generations, how do we then work with them? Like you said, the older generation feels threatened. I would use that word, if I would use by the young. And you've also mentioned the youth have not really positioned themselves and made themselves trustworthy. So you're looking at the other generation, looking at them like you don't have what it takes. Could you speak to each of these groups, especially the young? How do you position yourself? How then do you prove yourselves that we are ready to take over this leadership, that we need these resources, we will manage them properly? What are we looking at? Because we really need a solution, and there seems to be a problem there between that balance.
So I will start with the young the younger generation, we need to begin that in as much as schooling is very important. Schooling is different from education.
Oh, is it?
Schooling is a process where you are taken through a certain regimented or regulated system where you must learn this, you must do that, you must do that. Your ability to do it well in that controlled environment gives you evidence we call certificate. But beyond your certificate is what we call education. Ability to think and be creative, that is education. You need to educate yourself about the knowledge you have acquired from school.
Okay.
How does it apply to society? What does society stand to benefit from me? How can I apply that knowledge to solve a problem in society? That is education. So your ability to think gives you education. But certificate is obtained from schooling. So that's evidence that you have been through a certain system. But it is not the certificate that speaks for you. It is what you are capable of doing. So we must at all times educate ourselves. Don't limit yourself to what you have been taught in school. You must go beyond that. Teachers provide guidance for you to learn and obtain a proof that you have gone through that system. But education is by you. You must educate yourself. And by educating yourself, you will be able to prove when you are called upon that I have what it takes. There are many graduates today go for interview for a job, even in their own field of,
what they pursued.
What they pursued, cannot even provide meaningful answers. So you just went through, wrote your exams, forgot about everything, got your certificate, and that is it. So you do not, enlist the confidence of the older folks that you have what it takes. So you need to educate yourself beyond your certificate to prove that you have what it takes.
I like that.
That will enlist the confidence.
Educate yourself beyond the papers, beyond the certificate. Now to the older generation.
Now the older generation.
I know we only have about 3 minutes, so yes.
So the older generation also need to understand that younger people need mentorship.
Mentorship
they need
very
to be
important.
mentored. Knowledge shared is knowledge gained. As an older person, you share knowledge with a younger generation, you may gain insight into what their thought processes are, what their challenges are, and you will be able to offer support for them. So the older generation need to understand that. The younger generations are facing different challenges as compared to your time as a younger person. So you need to share perspectives with them to appreciate what is required, what they need to do, and by so doing, you will go home one day and feel good that indeed we have capable young people to lead affairs or to direct affairs of our nations and the continent.
I don't know how long you're in Kenya, but we are hoping we can have another hour with you very soon because I think ultimately we just want to understand how to strike that particular balance. And what you have said is mentorship. Besides this, do you have a mentorship program that somebody watching this morning might want to enroll to? Could you be somebody's mentor in the comment section? Let me just ask for you guys before you do. What are you doing as far as mentorship is in a minute? And of course, just open it up for the person watching back at home if they need help with that.
All right. Mentorship has been part of my activities in Ghana. And right here in Kenya, I participated. I was a guest speaker on Hive Africa Global Leaders Program. And similar things were done. Young people in business, young up-and-coming graduates and all that, we did that for them. So by way of mentorship, I would say that these three things, three C's of life.
Yes, as we wrap up.
3 C's of life. Choice, chance, and change.
I like that.
You have in you or within you the capability to make choices. Your choices you make today will determine the opportunities. Those are the chances that will come your way, and you will be in a position to effect the changes you want to see. So choice, change, and chance are the 3 C's that I will leave with everybody. That let it rhyme in your mind at all times. That you have choices to make, chances are there for you, and changes you can effect.
Can I challenge you and see if I am also a scholar as you are? I'll do the 4th C. Maybe we invent it here on the show. Consciousness.
Consciousness.
So, when you have this choices and chances, and they would then affect your change. Put the umbrella of consciousness. That was a discussion we had in the first hour, if you followed.
Yes.
And thank you very much, Dr. Victor, for creating time to be here.
Thank you.
Usually in Kenya, when in Africa, when a visitor actually comes, we either give them something. I would give you ugali here. But guess what, guys? I don't know if Simba is watching, but Dr. Victor Abbey said, I have a surprise for you. So I guess we're going to do this on live television. What was there for me, sir?
Okay. Ghana produces one of the best cocoas in Africa.
Wow.
And I cannot afford to keep this sweet cocoa from you. And it's been processed into chocolate.
Amazing.
And I have some pieces for all of you in the studio.
Amazing.
Take a bite and you enjoy it. Here comes the 40% cocoa.
Oh, this is original cocoa, my friends.
Yes.
I am telling you, we are actually saying thank you very much for that. And I hope we could all have pride in our countries like you do. You said we pride in the best cocoa. So I'm going to share this product. So we're actually going to be sharing this morning. What a breakfast. Is this healthy breakfast?
Yes. There are health benefits from chocolate. You read about it.
Okay.
It's something that protects the heart and all that.
Thank you very much.
It's good. And I want to say that Nairobi, Kenya,
yes,
is a place to be. I love the place, and I'm a humble African. Let's make that change that we all want to see.
Thank you very much. And of course, just to remind you, grab a copy of this. We'll leave that in the comment section. Also DM us on how then you can get a copy and learn to build yourself and your corporate, fields as far as your disciplines are concerned. Allow me to take a short breather. Even